The Upachaya houses conscious growth with time, Taurus rising, part 1. From seed to structure, where Earth learns to stretch toward the sky. For Taurus rising, the Upachaya houses, 3rd, 6th, 10th, and 11th, are the evolutionary arenas where this fixed Earth sign slowly but steadily unfolds its latent power. Taurus, ruled by Venus, is naturally grounded, sensual, comfort-seeking, and resistant to rapid change. But in these growth-oriented houses, especially under the pressure of Mercury, Mars, Saturn, and Jupiter, Taurus must trade stillness for motion, luxury for labor, and stability for strategy. Let us begin with the 3rd house, the first step from personal inertia into willful movement. The 3rd house, Cancer, emotional courage, nurtured skill and voice shaped by feeling activated. Ages 3, 15, 27, 39, 51, 63, 75. Cancer governs the 3rd house for Taurus rising. Ruled by the moon, this is a deeply emotional space for a house meant to forge courage, communication, and effort. Unlike the fiery assertion expected here, Taurus rising must learn to feel into action, to build confidence not through aggression, but through connection. In childhood, Taurus may hesitate to take initiative, especially in unfamiliar settings. Speech may be soft, sibling bonds emotionally loaded, and courage tethered to mood. But over time, as the moon matures, so does their emotional resilience. Writing, storytelling, caregiving, and empathy become their tools. They learn to stand up, not to dominate, but to express truth with kindness. If this house is supported by benefics, Taurus becomes the emotional communicator, the quiet motivator, or the sibling who holds the family together. But afflicted, it can lead to emotional passivity, fear of confrontation, or stuck creativity. Their breakthrough lies in discovering that true courage comes not from barking, but from holding emotional space with strength. The 6th house, Libra, graceful struggle, harmonized labor, and balance in service activated ages 6, 18, 30, 42, 54, 66, 78. For Taurus rising, Libra, ruled by Venus, governs the 6th house of enemies, routine, health, and effort. This house naturally brings friction, but Libra's refined energy introduces a paradox. Taurus must learn to fight diplomatically, to face opposition with elegance, and to turn daily routine into a craft. Here, Venus expresses through balance and refinement. Taurus may initially resist daily grind, conflict, or hard conversations. But over time, they develop a talent for healing through aesthetic, service through beauty, and problem-solving through grace. They might excel in professions related to law, design, medicine, or relationship management, where harmony must be negotiated under stress. Afflicted, this placement can breed avoidance of conflict, codependency with coworkers, or an obsession with appearances and health matters. But when evolved, Taurus rising becomes the graceful warrior, resolving disputes, refining habits, and working through friction without losing poise. The 10th house, Aquarius, structured innovation, cool authority, and social karma, activated ages 10, 22, 34, 46, 58, 70, 82. Aquarius rules the 10th house for Taurus rising, introducing the cold logic of Saturn and the disruptive brilliance of Rahu into the house of karma, status, and public visibility. Here, the sensual, stability-seeking Taurus must evolve into a futurist builder, one who blends timeless effort with progressive vision. Early career may feel disjointed, as Taurus rising grapples with impersonal institutions, unpredictable public roles, or a deep-seated discomfort with detachment and ambition. But Saturn matures this house with time. The native learns to structure their long-term goals, to endure setbacks, and to influence collective systems, whether in science, policy, or social work. With Rahu's influence, Taurus rising may rise to fame through unconventional means, especially in tech, innovation, or humanitarian causes. But imbalance can manifest as burnout, cold leadership, or alienation. The lesson? Your roots must be strong before you innovate. Your ambition must serve the collective, not just comfort. The 11th house, Pisces, compassionate gain, spiritual networks, and idealistic allies, activated ages 11, 23, 35, 47, 59, 71, 83. Pisces, ruled by Jupiter and co-ruled by Neptune or Ketu, rules the 11th house of social networks, hopes, and gains. For Taurus rising, this brings a dreamy, mystical, and idealistic energy into a house typically associated with pragmatic success. Material goals become infused with emotional or spiritual meaning. Friendships are intuitive. Alliances are karmic. In youth, this placement may create vague goals, overly sacrificial friendships, or unrealistic dreams. But with Jupiter's maturation, Taurus learns to find fulfillment through service-based communities, artistic collaborations, or spiritual institutions. They build wealth not just through transactions, but through faith, vision, and trust. Afflicted, this house can bring illusions in friendships, escapism through group identity, or a lack of boundaries with social causes. But when integrated, Taurus rising becomes a connector of hearts and visions, someone who builds community through empathy and turns ideals into real-world gain. In summary, the Upachaya houses for Taurus rising are where fixed Earth learns to move, adapt, and uplift. From Cancer's emotional courage in the 3rd, Libra's refined labor in the 6th, Aquarius's impersonal strategy in the 10th, to Pisces' spiritual generosity in the 11th, each house asks Taurus to stretch beyond comfort. Growth here is slow, subtle, but deeply stable. These houses don't shatter Taurus, they sculpt it into something far more resilient, responsive, and relevant. The Upachaya houses, Conscious Growth with Time, Taurus Rising, Part 2. The 8 most defining conjunctions in the Upachaya houses, where stability is challenged and growth finds rhythm. For Taurus Rising, the Upachaya houses, 3rd, 6th, 10th, and 11th, form the crucible where this Venus-ruled comfort-seeking soul must embrace friction, strategy, and structure. While Taurus prefers what is known, secure, and sensual, these houses pull them into the very dynamics they tend to avoid: confrontation, uncertainty, public scrutiny, and social entanglement. Conjunctions within these houses play a decisive role in defining the pace, posture, and purpose of their conscious growth. Let's explore the key planetary pairings that shape their evolution, beginning with the emotional but action-demanding 3rd house. Moon plus Mercury in the 3rd, the empathic messenger or the sentimental overthinker. With Cancer ruling the 3rd, this conjunction binds mind and feeling. If benefic, it gives Taurus rising the power to express through story, nurture through skill, and move others with both reason and care. It's a beautiful placement for counselors, teachers, or siblings who act as emotional anchors. But when afflicted, it creates mental fog, mood-based decision-making, or passive-aggressive communication. Growth begins when Taurus rising learns to trust their emotional voice, while not being ruled by its tides. Mars plus Moon in the 3rd, the protective sibling or the defensive communicator. This adds emotional fire to the Taurian voice. If harmonized, it fosters passionate advocacy, brave writing, and bold emotional expression, especially when defending family or nurturing roles. But when conflicted, it breeds passive aggression, emotional volatility in short travel or sibling dynamics, and arguments that come from unspoken feelings. Taurus must learn to respond, not react, in the emotional terrain of effort. Mercury plus Venus in the 6th, the harmonized helper or the pleasing overworker. In the Venusian 6th house, Libra, this conjunction refines the art of graceful service. It creates a native skilled in communication, harmony, and diplomacy within everyday tasks. This is the ideal placement for work in HR, beauty and wellness industries, or client-based professions. However, affliction leads to people-pleasing, avoidance of necessary conflict, or indecisiveness in problem-solving. Taurus learns that sometimes grace requires grit, and not all service must feel beautiful to be beneficial. Saturn plus Venus in the 6th, the silent servant or the reluctant laborer. This is where the sensual Venus must endure Saturn's pressure in the house of effort and health. If well placed, Taurus rising becomes a master of refined discipline, creating beauty in structure and devotion in duty. They may excel in law, design, or patient care, but when afflicted, it creates frustration with routine, resistance to effort, or chronic dissatisfaction in workspaces. Evolution occurs when they realize that aesthetic and effort can coexist, that the right kind of structure can support their artistic soul. Mars plus Rahu in the 10th, the ambitious disruptor or the public reactor. In the high-stakes 10th house ruled by Aquarius, this conjunction amplifies risk, boldness, and the urge to break into systems. Taurus rising here may make their mark in tech, reform, activism, or systems overhaul. If evolved, it leads to powerful innovation through discipline. But Rahu's smoke and Mars's speed can also bring impulsive career moves, workplace confrontations, or erratic visibility. This yoga demands clear intent, or risk running in circles on the public stage. Sun plus Saturn in the 10th, the ethical administrator or the shadowed achiever. Here, ego and duty wrestle under the public eye. When benefic, this creates a grounded, dutiful leader with immense staying power in careers that require rule setting, law, or public administration. Yet it often begins with invisibility, delayed recognition, or father wounds. Taurus rising must learn to honor their natural pace. Success delayed is not success denied. Their light emerges when their service becomes their signature. Jupiter plus Venus in the 11th, the community uplifter or the over-idealistic networker. In Pisces, Taurus rising's 11th house, this pairing gives magnanimous energy, generosity in friendships, idealism in social circles, and gain through spiritual or artistic networks. It's a lovely yoga for spiritual teachers, musicians, or nonprofit work. Yet if afflicted, it creates unrealistic expectations from community, loss of boundaries, or idealism that doesn't translate into gain. Taurus must learn to blend faith with discernment, to give from overflow, not depletion. Moon Ketu in the 11th, the detached ally or the confused dreamer. This is a deeply karmic conjunction that brings emotional detachment from the crowd, or a longing for pure connection amidst superficial networks. Taurus rising may feel emotionally out of sync with peers or disillusioned by group ideals. But with spiritual maturity, this becomes a gift for subtle leadership, energetic healing, or behind-the-scenes guidance. They don't always need to belong loudly. Sometimes their stillness is their presence. In summary, for Taurus rising, the Upachaya houses are where the fixed earth must loosen its grip. The moon's tides in the 3rd, Venus's diplomacy in the 6th, Saturn's long view in the 10th, and Jupiter's compassion in the 11th all push this Venusian native to develop fluidity within form. These conjunctions shape whether Taurus rises through harmony or hides behind it, whether it learns to move the earth it clings to, or be moved by the world it's meant to nurture. Conscious growth comes not when they abandon comfort, but when they expand what comfort means. The Upachaya houses, Conscious Growth with Time, Taurus Rising, Part 3. The 6th house, Libra, poised in the pressure, beautiful in battle, harmonizing the harsh. For Taurus Rising, the 6th house of effort, illness, litigation, routine, and service falls in Libra, ruled by their own Lagna lord, Venus. This brings a refined and relational quality to a house that normally deals in conflict. It's a paradox placement. Taurus must find harmony in hard work, must turn opposition into balance, and learn that serving well requires both sweetness and structure. Unlike Aries, who fights visibly in this house, Taurus must wage quieter wars against inner inertia, against the need to please at the cost of self, and against the pull to avoid discomfort in the name of peace. The journey through Libra in the 6th is not to escape conflict, but to refine one's response to it. Let us now look at the defining conjunctions in Libra that shape how Taurus rising grows through this house of karmic refinement. Venus plus Mercury, the graceful organizer or the polished procrastinator. This elegant pairing makes Taurus rising naturally diplomatic in everyday interactions. They may be skilled in mediation, therapy, beauty services, wellness routines, or workplace design. Speech is soft, manner is polished, and their presence at work tends to smooth tension. But when afflicted, this pairing avoids necessary confrontation, overthinks small details, or delays decisions in favor of appearing agreeable. Evolution happens when they learn to speak peace with clarity, not just charm. Venus-Saturn, the loyal servant or the resentful helper. Here, love and duty merge. Taurus rising becomes a reliable presence in service roles, consistent, dependable, and willing to take on karmic responsibility with quiet strength. They may find fulfillment in long-term caregiving, legal work, or social justice. But this can also lead to emotional fatigue, feelings of being taken for granted, or bitterness around sacrifice. Their liberation lies in setting boundaries that honor both love and labor. Venus plus Sun, the proud peacemaker, or the image-bound worker. This pairing gives leadership through diplomacy. Taurus rising may be respected in the workplace for their fairness, aesthetic sense, or refined guidance. It favors professions where grace under pressure is prized. But if afflicted, it may result in over-identifying with appearance, needing praise for good deeds, or avoiding difficult feedback. The true strength of this yoga comes when they serve without needing a stage, letting substance speak through elegance. Venus plus Mars, the harmonized warrior, or the passive-aggressive fighter. This unusual blend of Venusian charm and Martian assertiveness equips Taurus rising to deal with conflict gracefully but directly. They may excel in negotiation, fitness-based healing professions, or any task requiring both balance and action. If afflicted, however, this leads to tension between the desire to please and the need to confront, resulting in sudden outbursts after long suppression. The lesson is to integrate fire and form, let neither dominate. Saturn plus Mercury, the strategic healer or the overburdened analyst. In Libra's calm exterior, this conjunction creates an incredible planner, someone who can map out routines, resolve disputes, and create systems of health or fairness. It supports judicial work, analytics, and patient care industries. But if afflicted, Taurus rising may become overly fixated on flaws, critical of coworkers, or emotionally withdrawn. Healing begins when they realize that perfection isn't the goal. Alignment is. Mars plus Saturn, the unstoppable laborer or the exhausted competitor. This pairing brings grit to grace. When matured, it creates a powerhouse of execution, the one who carries burdens silently, finishes tasks others won't touch, and outlasts competitors through sheer inner stamina. But afflicted, it leads to burnout, resentment in service roles, or combative coworker dynamics. Taurus rising must learn to rest as part of the process, not just endure as proof of worth. Moon plus Venus, the healing touch or the people-pleasing prisoner. This deeply emotional conjunction brings beauty and nurture into daily routines. Taurus rising becomes someone others naturally turn to in crisis. Their emotional intelligence works through food, aesthetics, caregiving, or simply being a soothing presence at work. But if afflicted, this creates entanglement with others' problems, overextending oneself, or avoiding productivity to maintain social harmony. Freedom blooms when they serve from emotional clarity, not compulsion. Rahu plus Venus, the diplomatic innovator or the aesthetic addict. This Rahu-Venus blend gives a futuristic eye for beauty, charm, and negotiation. Taurus rising may enter industries like digital design, fashion tech, branding, or alternative healing. They are persuasive, stylish, and draw attention with subtle magnetism. But if afflicted, it brings obsession with image, perfectionism in routines, or misuse of charm to escape effort. Integration occurs when art meets ethics and when they use beauty to empower, not distract. In summary, for Taurus rising, the sixth house is where Venus learns the value of struggle. It is not merely a house of sickness or servitude. It is the refiner's fire. Here they must bring beauty into the broken, structure into the soft, and effort into their elegance. These conjunctions determine whether Taurus rising hides behind harmony or builds it consciously from conflict. Grace deepens when it passes through discomfort, and service becomes sacred when it is no longer about praise, but about precision with heart. The Upachaya houses, conscious growth with time, Taurus rising, part 4. The 10th house, Aquarius, the public path of innovation, duty, and detached mastery, where the builder of comfort learns to architect the future. For Taurus rising, the 10th house, Karma Bhava, the peak of visibility and achievement, falls in Aquarius, ruled by Saturn and co-ruled by Rahu. This is where the earthy sensualist must rise into the role of systemic innovator. Venus, which delights in the tangible and personal, must now operate in the domain of abstract vision, collective duty, and intellectual governance. The 10th house demands accountability to the public. Aquarius demands that such accountability serve a future greater than personal pleasure. Here, Taurus rising learns that real power lies in sustainable impact, not status alone. What they build must serve not just their name, but a legacy beyond them. Let's explore the conjunctions in Aquarius that determine how Taurus rising carves out their karmic reputation and public dharma. Saturn plus Sun, the ethical reformer or the suppressed leader. This is the battle between self-expression and societal expectation. When matured, it yields dignified leadership, rooted in integrity, clear boundaries, and long-term policy vision. Taurus rising with this conjunction may become heads of institutions, activists, or public servants with quiet power. Yet early in life, it can feel like invisibility, delayed validation, or clashes with father figures or authority. The test is to stop measuring worth by applause and instead lead from principled endurance. Saturn plus Mercury, the administrative mind or the mental bureaucrat. This creates a strategic, analytical intelligence suited for systemic thinking. Taurus rising becomes capable of managing teams, planning at scale, and creating structures that outlive them. Ideal for education, governance, and humanitarian tech. But afflicted, it breeds rigidity, cold communication, and mental fatigue. Their growth lies in allowing flexibility within frameworks. Not every answer needs a policy. Saturn plus Mars, the silent executor or the frustrated servant. When harnessed, this is a formidable work ethic. Taurus rising can thrive in demanding professions, engineering, architecture, aerospace, law enforcement, where timelines stretch and endurance is tested. Mars supplies the fuel, Saturn guides it into precision. But early on, this pairing can produce burnout, conflicts with bosses, or inability to assert under pressure. Mastery dawns when they act without impulse and persist without needing validation. Rahu plus Mercury, the futurist communicator or the disrupted thinker. This makes Taurus rising visionary in tech, AI, social commentary, or digital diplomacy. Ideas flow fast, sometimes too fast. They can pioneer digital spaces, futuristic education, or progressive management models. But Rahu's haze can lead to anxiety, misinformation, or unstable professional roles. Their evolution rests in refining their message through method and not mistaking noise for brilliance. Rahu plus Sun, the maverick leader or the image-bound ego. This powerful combination pushes Taurus rising into the limelight, often through unconventional routes. They may achieve fame in politics, media, or humanitarian tech. But the desire for approval can mask inner insecurity. If unevolved, it leads to ego overreach, instability in leadership, or rebellion without structure. They grow when they realize true influence doesn't need spectacle. It needs soul alignment. Rahu's Venus, the visionary creator or the addicted performer. Venus here seeks public admiration through beauty, art, design, or innovation. This pairing can launch Taurus rising into roles as curators, influencers, architects, or public figures in fashion, film, or digital culture. But Rahu can twist this into overdependence on popularity, image curation, or burnout from overperformance. Taurus evolves when art meets authenticity, and when beauty serves a cause greater than self. Sun plus Mercury, the strategic diplomat, or the image-focused analyst. This conjunction gives Taurus rising clear articulation, leadership and communication, and strength in careers involving speech, data, or negotiation. Public roles in journalism, education, diplomacy, or thought leadership are favored, but when afflicted, they may talk more than act or use intellect for self-promotion. Growth comes when they inform to empower, not impress. Mars plus Mercury. The tactical leader or the combative planner. This pairing produces a sharp professional mind with the ability to implement quickly and persuasively. It's excellent for entrepreneurship, crisis communication, or strategic execution. But if afflicted, it can lead to verbal aggression, short tempers with authority, or quick burnout. Taurus rising must learn to calibrate urgency with timing. Not every solution requires a sprint. In summary, the 10th house for Taurus rising is where Venus must wear the mask of Saturn and the wings of Rahu. It is where the native trades comfort for contribution and self-containment for systemic influence. These conjunctions shape whether Taurus rising becomes a refined visionary or a rigid functionary. At its highest, Aquarius here asks them to become builders of better worlds, grounded in timeless wisdom but reaching toward tomorrow. Their career must not only reflect who they are, it must serve what the world needs next. The Upachaya houses, conscious growth with time, Taurus rising, part 5. The 11th house, Pisces, gains through grace, vision through compassion, and collective healing as currency, where the rooted earth learns to swim in spiritual waters of collective desire. For Taurus rising, the 11th house, Labhasthana, the house of gains, long-term desires, and social expansion, falls in Pisces, ruled by Jupiter and co-ruled, traditionally, by Ketu. This is not a conventional house of ambition for them. Taurus, which prefers the predictable and tangible, now faces a house colored by faith, surrender, and idealism. Here, social success is not just calculated, it is destined, karmic, and often symbolic of spiritual merit. The 11th for Taurus rising teaches that true gain is not always financial. It may be emotional, creative, or devotional. Friendships are soulful, networks are spiritual families, and the loftiest goals are not chased, but intuitively aligned with. Let's explore how planetary conjunctions in Pisces within this house shape the maturity of Taurus rising social dharma. Jupiter plus Venus, the benevolent connector or the over-idealistic dream chaser. This pairing blesses Taurus rising with gracious charisma, artistic networks, and a sincere heart that attracts benefactors. It supports gains through art, beauty, spiritual community, or women-centered networks. But if afflicted, it brings naivete, overspending on friends, or unrealistic expectations of social validation. Evolution comes when Taurus realizes that generosity must be wise, not compulsive, and that love without discernment is not always service. Jupiter plus Moon, the spiritual matriarch or the sentimental idealist. This conjunction gives maternal grace and emotional wisdom that uplifts entire communities. Taurus rising becomes a mentor, counselor, or empathic group guide, someone whose presence brings comfort and hope. But afflicted, it leads to excessive emotional merging, savior complexes, or confusion about social boundaries. Clarity arises when they realize that being present is more powerful than being perfect, and that collective healing doesn't mean personal depletion. Venus plus Moon, the romantic idealist, or the energetic overgiver. In the 11th, this gives Taurus rising a soft, radiant appeal within social groups. It attracts friends easily, often from creative or devotional spaces, but their tendency to give emotionally and aesthetically without boundary can drain them. They may fund, support, or nurture others to their own detriment. The soul lesson is to give from emotional fullness, not from the need to be loved. Venus plus Rahu, the glamorous networker or the addicted social climber. This combination amplifies social magnetism. Taurus rising here may gain through digital platforms, fashion, media, or visionary circles. There's a lure in the mysterious, and they often attract admiration. But if afflicted, it brings confusion between true connection and performative association. They may chase followers instead of friends. Growth lies in grounding their image in authentic cause, not surface-level approval. Sun plus Jupiter, the uplifting leader or the moralistic guru. This pairing shines with divine confidence. Taurus rising with this conjunction is seen as a torchbearer in groups, a philosopher, educator, or spiritual guide. Their ideas inspire faith and collective movement. But when unevolved, it can turn into moral superiority, inflated ego, or dogmatism disguised as wisdom. The mature path invites them to lead without imposing and to teach through lived example, not just proclamation. Mars plus Jupiter, the inspired reformer or the vision-obsessed activist. This fiery, expansive combo makes Taurus rising a driven changemaker, bold in community upliftment, activism, or social service. They may rally others toward idealistic visions. But without grounding, this leads to burnout, unrealistic timing, or overreaching promises. Stability is restored when they match vision with humility and realize that some gains grow through silence, not just movement. K2 plus Moon, the detached friend or the mystic without tribe. This spiritual pairing can make Taurus rising aloof in groups or deeply introspective about the meaning of social belonging. They may feel like observers in their networks, present but emotionally removed. With maturity, this becomes a gift for holding quiet spiritual space for others. They may become hidden guides, working behind the scenes for collective healing. But first, they must learn to honor their need for solitude without isolating in fear. Sun plus Rahu, the illumined visionary or the ego-entangled influencer. This is a powerful yoga for social prominence, especially in fields like media, performance, or spiritual marketing. Taurus rising here often craves visibility in groups and may lead through bold aesthetics or provocative ideals. If afflicted, it produces obsession with attention, manipulation of group identity, or hollow fame. Liberation comes when influence is used for elevation, and when ego surrenders to universal intent. In summary, Pisces in the 11th house shows Taurus rising that the greatest gains don't come from strategy alone, but from alignment with cosmic timing and soul purpose. These conjunctions test whether their social connections are rooted in devotion or delusion, whether their dreams are chaste or channeled. The Upachaya magic here ripens only when Taurus rising trusts the invisible hand of destiny, when they realize that the most lasting gains are not always seen, but deeply felt.